So welcome to Unheard Gems, and I'm unbelievably lucky to be with Luca Fogale today. And so I just wanted to ask, start off the bat, how are you?
I'm good, Hannah. Yeah, I'm doing good. I had a nice drive in from San Fran. We had a show last night, and so I had a nice drive in today, and excited to be in this incredible room. And how are you?
Doing well. Drove in from Claremont today, so about 40-minute drive in here, but I'm from the Bay Area, so I'm familiar with the drive from San Francisco.
Okay, I see.
So I feel like artists often explain themselves a lot better than I ever could to our listeners. So if you were to explain who you are as both a person and a musician, that would be phenomenal.
Oh, for sure. I haven't thought about that in a while. As a person, I feel like generally in my life I wrap up both things into myself. I have a tough time separating myself from the art. I feel like I sort of define myself all as one. And yeah, I think I'm working towards someone who is both as an artist and a person, someone who asks important questions and thinks critically and importantly about things that matter to myself and the people around me and this world and so I'm trying to become someone who again asks those questions and is interested in those kinds of things and in that way becomes sort of a force for change in a positive way and bringing people together. So, kind of lofty goals, maybe.
I think they're good goals to have. So I was saying this to you earlier, not gonna lie, I have never purchased tickets to a show faster than when I saw you were going on tour, and I feel like I've been waiting to see you since I first found your music back like 2017, 2018, and I think I probably listened to Bluebird or Hannah, obviously, because my name's Hannah first. So what's it like to be back on tour with like a couple shows under your belt now, but it's been a while since anyone's played live?
Yeah, I mentioned it. It's almost been 2 years, and so 3 shows down on this one, and this will be number 4, and it's been pretty wild. I forgot how much I loved it. I knew I did. Mm-hmm. I think I forgot how complex it is and how much I learn about myself when I get to play, and how much I adore the conversations that I get to have after the shows and during shows with people, and they've all been nice and small this time, just to kind of keep it safe and something that we're trying to figure out how to do something that wasn't going to get canceled, mm-hmm. And so because I've had shows pushed back in Canada for over a year, so it's been perfect, and imperfect and all the things, but just to be back in rooms with people and playing music and I can't wait for the rest of it, and I'm already loving it. It's already a win for me. So just happy to be down here.
It's really exciting. And so you released your record "Nothing Is Lost" about a year ago. I remember you posted on your story that it was its 1-year birthday.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely beautiful. And
thank you.
I've just loved that you've been able to take the time to revisit some of the songs in an acoustic version, re-release them on your YouTube channel, on your social media. I feel like it's just brought another level to those tracks. And so I sort of wanted to know what you learned from the process of making that album, and then also you released that obviously in the peak of a global pandemic. What's it like to release something into the world when something like that's going on?
Yeah. To answer the first part of your question, the process it took a long time. It took about, the last record I put out, full record, was in 2016, and then a few singles, but we were working on this record, Nothing Is Lost, for probably 3 years before it came out, and so the songs took a long time to write, and then, as usual, I tried a lot of iterations of the productions to figure out where they should sit and where they felt like they belonged. So I think I'm finding out that that's just my process, that things take quite a long time, and that's okay. What was the second half of your question? I've forgotten now.
Releasing music in a global pandemic,
of course,
obviously, you have to kind of take a different approach because you can't immediately tour and do all those things like you normally would.
Yeah. It was a decision that we made as a team because it was finished for probably 6 months before we released it. We kind of had it uploaded for March of 2020, and then the world changed for a lot. So we just decided that it was the right time. It was it was in the fall of the year, and it felt like it made sense seasonally, and also some of the songs still felt sort of current, and when people were sort of on their own and reflecting on things, but yeah, it was hard. It was a hard decision to make because honestly, I wondered if it was important. I didn't want to just add to the noise of everything, and so I didn't want to feel self-important. I didn't want to feel like I was taking up anyone's airwaves. Especially in the wake of a social justice movement as well. I didn't want to just take up space, and but we talked about it a lot as a team, and just kept going over and over in our meetings about when to put it out, and it ended up feeling like the right time, and we didn't push too hard. It was a bit of a quieter release, but it was funny to play the songs on the day of, and kind of into my computer. I think we did a Zoom concert or something. And well, obviously it wasn't the same, but I'm so fortunate in my life to be able to keep doing these things anyway. So it was different, and it was different, and still great, but different.
Yeah. And so obviously I'm a fan of your music. I love your songwriting. So for me, I like to know, how do you come up with the narratives? I feel like they're so personal. Sort of, what are the stories behind them? What inspires them?
Yeah, that's a great question. Some of the songs on this last record were about my upbringing in the Catholic Church, and therefore, just kind of conversations around my own spirituality and what I've started to ask questions about my own life. But I feel like a lot of the album is sort of meditations on things that I tell myself about life getting better and changing, and questions about how to sort of explore what I am feeling and accept myself, and accept that I have flaws and shortcomings, but also things to celebrate. So I think the narratives just sort of come from, I just have a lot of time to just sit and think about things, and I know how fortunate I am for that. But and it's also why things take me a long time, because I spend a lot of time thinking about them. So a lot of thought goes into it, and again, how lucky am I to just be able to do that and have people accept them? It's pretty surreal. So yeah.
And then, not to get vulnerable trying to be professional, balancing those two things, but your music has really helped me in some of my darker and sadder moments, and I'm sure I'm not alone in terms of your fan base who's probably said that. So when thinking about your fans when you release music, what do you hope they get out of it? And then when they tell you their response to your music, what do you feel in those moments?
Yeah. I could speak for that to that forever. In regards to sort of wondering what I'm releasing, I do think a lot about it, because I think that the wrong questions can be asked. I think that songs can be made with the wrong intention, and so I feel like every time I write a song, I sort of try to think back, not just, is this a good song for me to put out into the world and make it a real thing? Is this going to be not damaging for someone else, but just sort of, I feel like when I'm able to write a song about something that's real in my life, but also sort of bookend it with the feeling of hope, that there is sort of some lightness to it, that's when I know that it's a song that I can feel good about releasing, because I don't want to add to anyone's sadness. Again, the sort of music that I reach to in my own life is the sort of music I make. I need that sort of music in my life to connect to, and to feel vulnerable, and to feel open, and to let myself feel heard by someone else. And so I do think a lot about it, and I hope that the music that I've released has been, in some way, not therapeutic, but meant something to someone. And especially with smaller shows and getting to talk to people, I do hear a lot of people who connect with them, and similar to you, people who say that, oh, this song helped me through a certain portion of my life. And again, as someone who has spoken like that to other musicians about their music, it's incredibly special, because I never thought that would be the case. And I don't take it lightly, and I don't take it for granted, because I know how special that is. To be able to affect someone without them, knowing you, without knowing them, just through music and art. It feels very cosmic and very profound. And so I just feel really fortunate to be able to be a part of people's lives in that way. Yeah.
And not to pull a complete 180, but a little bit of a lighter note.
Sure.
Other than completing this tour, which will hopefully be a complete blast the entire way through, what else are you looking forward to for the rest of this year?
I've got a kind of like a record's worth of new songs written. So I'm looking forward to keeping working on those. I might take a bit of time off in the winter, and I'm looking forward to the winter. I'm looking forward to it being a bit colder. But yeah, I feel like this last couple of years is the first time I've really learned how to enjoy my life. And so, because of that, I feel like I'm looking forward to everything about it. Not just working, which was always sort of it was always my objective in the last 8-10 years of my life that I've been in music now, and I'm looking forward to working and also to taking a bit of time away and getting to think and read books and just do whatever. It's a very new thing for me to do. So yeah.
And then just to wrap things up, I ask this at the end of every single interview I've ever done for Unheard Gems, but obviously we've discovered you.
Right.
Help us discover more people. Who would you consider an unheard gem that just is someone who needs more listens, you think is phenomenal and just deserves to have the spotlight shined on them?
Oh, let me think for 1 second. That's a really great question. I will say I'm a big fan of Sam Lynch's songs. She's a singer-songwriter from Vancouver, and she writes incredible music. And she's got a tour coming up in Canada in November. So that is a recommendation I'd make. Also, for anyone who hasn't seen it, I just made a playlist that a bunch of people who follow me on social media were able to put their songs into. So I'll make that link available. But I've listened to it twice through now, and it's quite long. I've had a lot of time to drive. But so yeah, it's a playlist of all music from people who I'm connected to on socials. And it's fantastic. So it's, yeah. Those are all my recommendations. There's like 100.
I feel like that's always like the hardest question for everyone. People like dig through their Spotify playlist to figure out.
For sure.
But yeah, if you want to plug your social media, where you could find information on the tour.
Sure.
Anything, floor is yours.
Yeah, for sure. My social media is, everything is at Luca Fogale, Luca Fogale. And the next stops on the tour are, after LA today, Denver, and then I believe Chicago, New York, Washington, DC, Boston, and Nashville, and Austin, and Philadelphia. I think that's all. I could be missing a bunch.
Are you driving to all of them, or?
Yeah.
Good for you.
It's gonna be a blast. Oh, thanks. I really love it. I love it. It's time to listen to music, time to listen to audiobooks and just think and look at the beautiful scenery. And I miss this country so much, so I'm so glad to be here.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you, Hannah.
Nothing is over, nothing is over, nothing is lost, nothing is over.